Alright, ready to film. Welcome back, guys. So before we start, I just want to say that I'm sorry I didn't upload on my normal schedule last week. I meant to, and I did want to. I was just feeling a little under the weather, and I also just didn't know what to talk about. So I'm kind of glad AYN gave me this excuse to make a video on their stuff, on their Q&A that they did. Because I honestly have no idea what I would have talked about. The point of this video is to talk about the Q&A that happened last night on AYN's Discord server. There are about 40 questions, 38 I think, 38 questions, all concerning the Loki. And I picked out a few that I think are the most important and that I want to go over. But if you do want to read the whole thing, AYN has it on their Discord server. And I'm sure other channels like Retro Breeze will be making their recaps like they usually do, so you might just have to wait for those. But let's kind of just get into it, because there's a lot of information in here and some of it is kind of disappointing. So the first question I want to go over is, someone asked, what are the remaining challenges still remaining in finalizing units? And AYN responded, we still have challenges in managing the details of product specs and build quality and full testing plan. Now what you see is a full functional prototype unit. The good news is we successfully managed the thermal performance to match the best one in the market last week. And then they go on to show the temperatures at the certain watts. And I think this is important just because it kind of gives like information on what's going on in like their production of the units. And I just think it's interesting what they say here. Like they're having challenges, they're still having challenges managing the details of product specs, build quality, and full testing plans. So I think that's interesting just to hear from them that they have challenges in those areas. What I do with that information, I don't know, but still. The next question asks, when will the new Odin Launcher come out? Now this is about a new Odin Launcher, like the Odin Launcher that's on the Odin right now, but they said they're making a new one, which I kind of completely forgot about until right now. So they answered, it's still under development, it is fully worked out, and I hope we can release the first alpha version in the middle of March. So that's coming up soon. So hopefully it'll be like good, because I don't know what this exactly is going to look like, but it's still interesting to see that they're still working on software for it. And I'm excited to see what this launcher brings. Maybe it'll be something like the Retroid launcher, where it can launch ROMs and stuff. I'm not entirely sure what they've said about it. The next question asks, will we see Loki non-max gameplay anytime soon? This is referring to how AYN on their YouTube channel has been posting a lot of gameplay of the AYN Loki Max, of it playing games like Hogwarts Legacy and stuff like that. Like they just posted a video of it playing Atomic Heart, and they said, yes, this week we plan to release some videos on the Loki. The Loki actually keeps the same pace as the Loki Max. They say the 6600U shares the same footprint as the 6800U, and it shares a similar BIOS design. So that's interesting. I hope it like, it's gonna be very powerful, so there's like no reason to worry about gameplay or anything. Obviously the Loki Max is gonna be more powerful, but that's because it's using a different chipset or a different like GPU, whatever, CPU, I don't know, I'm very stupid. But it's gonna be powerful, so there's no reason to worry about the Loki. I hope they show videos, I'm pretty sure they answered this in another question, but I hope they show videos of gameplay from the lower end Loki models, like the Loki Mini and the Loki Zero eventually, but we'll get to that when we get there. Has there been any testing with SteamOS and GameScope in general with the Loki Max? They say yes, Steam games will be planned accordingly to your requirements. People can suggest game lists and request features on SteamOS specifically. And AYN has said in the past that they're going to be allowing you to use SteamOS on the device. Like you can use SteamOS on the device, which is useful because I really like SteamOS. I might just keep it vanilla Windows because I kind of want to see what it's like to use Windows on a handheld, because I've never done that before, but I do really like SteamOS, so maybe later I'll switch to that. Someone asked, any future software updates for the Odin still in the pipeline? The issue with the CPU throttling without a touch input is pretty major. I'm not sure what that issue is referring to. I haven't experienced that, but it's good to see that their answer was yes, we will drop the new game launcher in this March. I mentioned above, the golden criteria in AYN is to justify a good product will be good ergonomics, good hardware and performance, and good software. And actually the history for a company, actually typically a hardware, software, design, iteration, and innovation, it is all for us. I think they're trying to say that they're just like trying to prioritize quality over quantity, which I guess is good. And it's good to see that they're still working on Odin software updates, because the Odin is still very popular. People are still buying it, so they can't just drop it in favor of the Loki. Next question, how different is the 720p screen in the Loki Zero compared to the others? Will it consume less energy, giving it better battery life? Literally speaking, this is their answer. It just consumes a little bit less power than the 1080p screen itself. However, since the amount of pixels on a 720p screen is roughly 40% of a 1080p screen, it consumes way less power for rendering the game videos. So the Loki Zero is going to have a long battery life, as long as you don't try and play any high-end games on it, which, why would you really want to? I'm getting the Loki Zero just because I want to test it out and see what it can realistically do compared to like the Odin and the Loki Max when those arrive. I feel like the Loki Zero, as long as you play like 2D games like Celeste or Cuphead or anything like that, you'll probably be fine. Like the Odin can play Celeste, so I feel like if this thing can play Celeste, it'll last like just as long as the Odin did. It may be shorter because the Odin's running Android and this is running Windows, but at the same time, it's not consuming as much power. And someone asked, can you eventually give us information sheets like the ones that AYN made for the Air? They're very informative, straightforward, and can be posted on your website, specifically the battery life and in-game FPS/TDP information. They would answer a lot of questions I see posted in here every day. That's referring to the Discord channels they have for the Loki models. They said, good suggestion and thanks so much. I'll ask the team to make information sheets with the battery life and in-game FPS/TDP information specifically, which is actually very nice to hear because like I don't really value those sheets as much as other people do, but I do feel like they're very interesting and useful to see how long the battery life, and it is useful to kind of just have those spec sheets to kind of look at it and be like, if they should do it. This is my idea. They should have like all the models on one spreadsheet and kind of give like basic information to kind of make it easy for people to understand and like figure out which is best for them. And definitely do the ones for the FPS, especially for the lower end models, because the Loki Max and even Loki, I'm not really all that concerned about with like higher end games. Like the 6600U and 6800U have been out for a while, or have been in other devices at least, so we know what games can run on them. Like other devices have used the 6800U in their models, so it's not surprising that these games are going to run well on there. I just hope they make the spec sheets for the lower end models, especially the Loki Mini and Mini Pro, because I don't think many people are still buying the Loki Zero, if many people bought it at all. And the Loki Mini and Mini Pro are probably the most popular, not accounting for the Loki Max, because they do seem to provide a good amount of power, especially the Mini Pro, for that kind of cheap price tag, which is less than the Odin Pro right now. Someone asked, what are your current obstacles preventing full production of all Loki SKUs, Loki models? I went over this question at the beginning. Someone asked a similar question, but they gave a different answer here, so I'm gonna kind of go over it. They say, from a business scope, we need to control the quality risks, especially at the hardware flaw at maximum efforts. Like A, the shell won't crack after 1 year of usage. 2, A and 2 are not the same thing. B, the device won't halt down because of poor thermal performance. C, the joystick won't have potential drift. Okay, so I'm not stupid. They went from C to 4. I'm trying to give them as much credit as possible here. I'm not even joking. 4, the device won't easily be bricked even after random operation testing. 5, the battery won't have potential risk on charging, aging test, etc. So it is interesting that they're kind of, I don't think they put this in the Q&A, or maybe I just didn't read it, but they kind of explained what suggestions influenced the Loki's design. And I feel like that kind of has an impact on this question, because this question, they're talking about hardware flaws that they need to work out, because we've seen major hardware flaws on the original Odin. And in this image here, I think it's great that they're saying that they're trying to work on hardware issues so that this device is durable and doesn't break after a year, which is very much something I desire. I don't want my device breaking. On the 25th of November last year, they, in one of their Q&As, they answered a question that asked, what suggestions has influenced the design of the Loki? One is Hall swappable sticks. So I guess that's Hall sensing sticks, the ones that like the AYN devices use, where they're like Hall sensing, where they won't drift. So I guess that'll be good. People like big sticks, the same as the Xbox gamepad. It's true. Give enough travel to Hall-based shoulder buttons. Yes, because the Odin has like, these have analog triggers, but they're kind of like, it's kind of like a short travel distance, which isn't a problem because like a lot of the games I emulate, Nintendo games, don't really take advantage of analog triggers unless you're playing GameCube games. But PC games, I know a lot of them do kind of take advantage of analog triggers, like especially shooters, so it'll be useful to have those. It says Ford to deliver better vibration experience, high quality speakers, which requires more room, better ergonomics. Yeah, that all looks like it's being presented here, and I really like that. So it seems they're definitely listening to people, and I really like that. And their current obstacles seem to be correlated with those changes in a certain way, and also they just want to make a good product, which is always something I want to see. Someone asked, do you think the Loki Zero will be outdated by the time it is released? They said, no, actually, with the dual channel RAM enabled, good enough heat dissipation, and good software service, it won't be outdated this fast. I'm just gonna take them at their word, because I haven't used the Loki Zero yet, but I feel like at this point you could kind of consider it outdated just because it's so like low end. Outdated is kind of like a weird term to use for these devices because they're like $1,000. You don't want to spend $1,000 just for it to become outdated in like 6 months. These devices are luckily, like the Loki Zero especially, is like $250, which is not worth it. I've said this many times, it's not worth it right now. Get the Loki Mini or Mini Pro. It seems like they're actually trying to do work to make the most out of these chipsets, which is good. I want to see them do a lot with the Loki Zero and kind of like make it as worth it as possible. I got it when it was $200. Emulation is going to be a good test for the Loki Zero because I want to see what it's able to play. If it can play, I think probably the highest it can go for like the entire library is probably Wii games, like the Odin Pro and Odin models, but it'll be interesting to see. And someone asked, if there are any more delays, will we be alerted in a timely manner? Being completely ignored on Friday was very disappointing. That is referring to a delay that I will get to in a second. They say, yes, just sorry for my poor time allocation on a timely report for the first time on last Friday. And if there are any more delays, I think I will keep the suggestion in my mind. At least we need an announcement on the delay and an answer on what happened. It's not a very clear-cut answer, but they're saying that yes, they will make an announcement on the delay and tell like why they did the delay, which I'm not even sure if they do, but there are two more questions I want to go over. One asks, will there be a feature to be able to turn off the onboard controller for when you are connecting to a unit to a TV? And will this feature be brought over to the Odin? Which is kind of important because like when you plug the Odin into a TV or like an external monitor, it keeps those as like the primary controls. Yes, Loki will have this feature supported. I have seen many people request this feature to turn off the onboard controller when connecting to a TV, which is good. I like when devices like disable the onboard controls. Like it looks like it's going to be a feature, so if you still want it, you can have it, but who knows? We'll have to wait. So here we have the final question that I want to go over. Someone asked, what is the exact shipping time for all Loki SKUs, all Loki models? They say, the mold for all Loki SKUs will start within the coming week. The beginning of this May should be the right shipping window for Loki/Loki Max, and Loki Zero will be 1 month later. This is what I can confirm for Loki Zero, Loki/Loki Max. The current strategy in this company is to make Loki/Loki Max as perfect as possible, and then the design experience and reusable design resources including mold, bridge chips, thermal solutions, apps across multiple OSs will be fully mirrored or migrated to Loki Zero and Mini/Mini Pro, and then get the rest of the Loki models to be accelerated in the right way. So the big thing from that answer is that the Loki Max and Base, which are the ones that are currently scheduled to come out first, have been delayed to Q2, May. They say May. And I try to give AYN a lot of credit. Like, they're a new company. They're not as established as something like AYN or Valve even, but they knew what they were doing when they launched this device, when they opened up pre-orders for this device. They had experience from the Odin's campaign and launch that they had to delay those. They knew that they were probably going to have to delay these. They originally said December 2022. Then they said March or Q1 2022 for some models, and then I guess Q2 for others. And now they're saying May for the Loki Max and Base. And I try to give them a lot of credit because, like I said, they're kind of a new company, but man, May is just kind of disappointing. Like, this device, the Loki Max, was $700, and a lot of people, including myself, they've been holding on to that money for the last like 8 months. I can't help to be a little disappointed because I had to have anticipated this. Even some of their answers here like seem to imply that they knew they were gonna have to delay these devices, and I can't help but be a little disappointed that they did the campaign so early. Like, last year when they started this campaign, I was like, okay, they have experience from the Odin launch. They know how to kind of get this stuff going. They know how to make these devices, stuff like that, which is kind of overestimating them. But still, I kind of thought they had it all down, or at least had an idea of what to do. But they took pre-order money. They took the money, and it's kind of been like even more silent than the Odin campaign was. Like, because the Odin campaign, my phone's falling. The Odin campaign, stop it, Jesus. The Odin campaign, we had updates every week. Every week on their Indiegogo, they would put up a new update, telling us what was going on with the development and stuff like that. Now it's just kind of silent. Oftentimes we will go a few weeks without any information or any meaningful update from AYN. And it's kind of frustrating because it's like, you have my money. You have my money for the Loki Zero and the Loki Max. And by the time I get these, if the May date still holds up and they get it out by May, which honestly, I don't trust any of their release dates right now, they will have had it for 11 months, close to a year from when they announced it to when it actually gets to my hands. Because I pre-ordered it the night it went live. So I can't help but be just a little disappointed in how they've handled this whole situation. I try to give as much credit as I can and like be kind of as understanding as I can. But when it gets to a point where it's like, I have been waiting and I've been kind of expecting this device to come out in Q1, I'm a little annoyed. This happened with the Odin. They announced it, they like started the Indiegogo campaign in like what, August? When did I upload my video? It was August of 2021, I think. For the Odin, I think the Pro, I think the initial launch date was November of 2021, and the launch date for the Odin Lite was, I think, December of that year. And they delayed it from November and December to January for the Odin Pro and base, I think. I think the Pro was the first to get out, but I think the base was not long after. And the Lite was, I think, like a few months later. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, it's only like 2 months out from when they first said it would release, at least for the Pro. I wasn't all that annoyed because it was like, oh, they're a new company, it's their first device, they need more time, stuff like that. They can get their time, they can make the device as good as possible, and I really loved the device. And I don't doubt that I will love the Loki Max and even the Loki Zero. I feel like those devices, I will love them both. I will use them a lot. I probably prefer them over the Steam Deck in terms of emulation because the Steam Deck is giving me a lot of issues in terms of emulation right now. But I can't help but feel a little annoyed. I feel like I'm just repeating myself here. So let me kind of end this. I'm annoyed. That's obvious. I'm annoyed that they've delayed it so long, and I'm annoyed that they've kind of been giving us very few updates since they started this campaign. And even like the design of the Loki, like they hadn't even had that finalized until like November of last year. They started the campaign in like the 1st of June. Like before that, they had announced the pre-orders. All I'm saying about this, because I can't like get any other Windows handhelds right now unless someone wants to send me one. If you do, I have an email in my about section. Send me an email. But this is the only Windows handheld I'm going to be getting, at least in the upcoming future. May is a little farther away, so I'm kind of annoyed that it's like right around then, but I hope they learn from this. The next campaign they do, hopefully they don't announce it 11 months before any of the devices release. And I think they've said this in the past that they're going to do this, but I hope they go back to a like Indiegogo style campaign. I'm just annoyed. I don't want to be a broken record, and I don't want to just be rambling about how I'm annoyed for this entire like last section of the video, but I do want to hear your thoughts on this. Have you pre-ordered a Loki? Do you have any thoughts on this Q&A? Is there anything that you want to hear my opinion about? Like someone asked a question and I didn't cover it. If there is a question that I didn't cover and you want to see someone else cover it, I'm sure, like I said, Retro Breeze or other channels will be making their recaps like I have in the past. Have you refunded your purchase? Because I know a lot of people on the AYN Discord have been saying that they've refunded their purchase, that they want a refund. Let me know your opinions down in the comments below. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.